Coach Troy from Metro Lutheran Ministries Financial Opportunity Center, here to continue our conversation about financial literacy and the things that you need to know. Now, today's topic is on the emergency savings account. Now, the emergency savings account is a tool that you can create to help you weather unexpected expenses. Now, many people have discovered that they were spending too much money in their day-to-day lives when the COVID-19 crisis hit. Suddenly, their hours were reduced at work, or they lost their jobs altogether. And without that income, they didn't have the money to stay current on bills, utilities, or even their rent or mortgage payments. But first, before we talk about the emergency savings account, we're going to talk a little bit about banks and credit unions. These are the institutions that you would typically use to establish your emergency savings account. I mean, we're not talking about throwing your money underneath a mattress. And some people may laugh at this thought, but there are many people who put their money in mattresses, under a loose floorboard, and others who put it in mason jars and bury it in the backyard. I mean, I'm not kidding. The numbers fluctuate a little, but essentially 1 out of every 5 households do not use a bank or a credit union. Why is a little tricky to answer. Some do not trust the institutions. Others feel like they're paying too many fees, and while I could help people find accounts without fees, it really boils down to an individual's feelings about banks and credit unions. But that's a whole conversation I could have with you about the pros and cons of banks and credit unions. And in fact, we'll do a video on that coming up later. But this next slide from MoneyLog shows us the real reason why you should be using a bank or a credit union. And I've highlighted it up there. Whether you use a bank or a credit union, it's important to realize that your deposits are insured. That means that if anything happens to that bank, if anything happens to that credit union, you'll get your money back. And the question is, why is that important? Well, I have some real world experience with this. This is a picture from 1993. And this is a picture of Burton, Kansas, following what is currently called the Great Heston Tornado. My grandmother lived in Burton at the time, and if all of her money had been hidden under her mattresses, it would have just been gone. As you can see, there aren't too many mattresses in this picture looking all tough and secure. See, even if the local bank had been destroyed, the insurance would have ensured that she got her money back. Now, seriously, the peace of mind of knowing that you're going to get your money back, that your money's protected and safe, should help you get over any other reasons you might have for distrusting in banks. But again, that's a conversation we could have later. Now, what if you had a house fire or you were robbed, or mattresses, any other in-house methods probably aren't going to protect you, but the banks will. So back to the topic at hand. An emergency savings account is money that is safely saved for future use in the event of a medical emergency. Or what if you lose your job? Or what if you or a family member have legal expenses that come up? Maybe you're driving on the roads in Kansas City and you have 3 tires destroyed in one of the potholes of doom. See, those expenses are important and need to be taken care of. See, that's the secret to an emergency savings account. You don't pull money out for anything that isn't an actual emergency. And before you ask, no, I want a new pair of AirPod Pros. That's not considered an emergency. Now, let's be clear. An emergency savings account is not a tool that will make you rich. And an emergency savings account is a tool with one purpose and one purpose only. It is meant to help you build up a reserve of money that can prevent you from a financial meltdown in the event of a crisis. So, how much should you have in an emergency savings account? Well, first of all, understand that anything in savings is better than nothing. So start small and build up over time. Now, ultimately, you probably want to have somewhere between 3 to 6 months of your basic living expenses. You know, rent, utility, your ongoing medical expenses, food, Now, this doesn't include things like cover charges to go to the club or getting your hair done or painting your motorcycle. I mean, if you want to include things like that, you're going to need to add more to your emergency savings account. So the next question would be, how do you start an emergency savings account? Well, first you need to do some research and find out your options in regards to banks and credit unions and what kind of accounts they offer, and then actually open the account. Now, that's something your friendly neighborhood financial coach could help you figure out. Then, once you have your account, you make a deposit every week or every time that you get a paycheck. The cool thing is that once you have an account, you can even make that an automatic thing that happens. You can automate it, direct deposit it straight in. You don't even have to remember to go out and do it. Yeah. And this is probably the most often used reason for not having an emergency savings account. And frankly, it's probably the most common reason that someone gets upset with their friendly neighborhood financial coach. It's true. It really is. You see, this is going to require you to look at how you spend your money. And you might find out that you're overspending or spending more than you need to spend for something, and where you might just plain old-fashioned be wasting your money. There, I said it. You might be wasting money. Now, this graphic shows you, for each of the last 3 generations here, where they are overspending or where they are maybe wasting money, really, for lack of a better phrase. And if you notice, the number one thing for every group is eating out. Now, even if you just spend $8 every day for lunch, that's going to add up. If you were to make your lunch and take it every day, you would have saved $40 over the course of the average work week. And even if you only put 3/4 of that into the bank, saving $10 to go out there and buy the stuff that you're going to take for lunch, if you just put $30 a week in the bank, you'd have $120 each month being added to your emergency savings account. And that's just by cutting out one person eating out every day for lunch. Now, that's another thing your friendly neighborhood financial coach could help you take a look at. We could help you look at the areas where you might be overspending or, in some regards, wasting money. Now, the hardest part of any emergency savings account is this part. Once you've started putting money in, leave it alone. Don't take money out for any reason that's not an emergency. Let the small amount of interest that you earn do its magic. The interest gets added to your account balance, and then you earn interest on the interest that you've already earned. And it's a magic formula, and it works every time to slowly and surely build up your account balance, in addition to what you're adding every week or every 2 weeks. You see, so many of us, myself included, we have a tendency to throw money away because we buy things that we wind up not using, or we buy food that we wind up throwing away, or we pay interest and late fees on bills that we forget to pay. And if we could stop that wasteful spending, if we could stop throwing away money, we could use that money to fund our emergency savings account. Look, if you're interested in starting to build your own emergency savings account, you can work with the coaches at Metro Lutheran Ministries Financial Opportunity Center. Be sure to check out our other videos on YouTube. And if you're in the KC Metro area, you can contact us at 816-285-3131. And remember, feed the pig.